All right, it's summertime and we don't have a lot of time, but we are prioritizing the things that we love to do. So sit down. I have 15 minutes before my boyfriend comes over to hang out and help me mow my lawn. So let's chat. Welcome back to Human. My name is Jessica Jane. I am your host, and I'm so excited to chat today about community. It is so important. It is so crucial for our happiness, for our well being, for our lives. And I did not learn this until I was 24 years old. And that is mostly because I went from working remotely, being by myself every day, literally spending just 90% of my time alone on a computer or in meetings on Zoom. And now I work not every day, but every time I work, I'm in person. I am with incredible coworkers and I'm meeting incredible people at my job at Othership, a sauna cold plunge space. It is literally a house of transformation. It's a place of transformation. That's what it's called. That's our slogan. So I want to speak on how crucial community is and how much it changes my mood every single time I go to work, every single time I engage in other types of community, and convince you why I think you should make sure you have some community in your life. It doesn't have to be work, there are so many other ways to find it, and it is the biggest game changer I have ever experienced for my happiness levels, which are always fluctuating. And today, and yesterday, I was really struggling. I was feeling really lonely. I was feeling really lost on what I should be doing. I just got back from a wonderful 5-day vacation with my partner. I don't want to say partner. My boyfriend. I don't know. I just have an allergic feeling about partner. Partner feels like you're so official. But today is actually our 4-year anniversary. So we are very official. We've been together for a long time. But I'm young. I'm going to say boyfriend. Anyway, moving on. We were away for 5 days and I got back and I was supposed to work the next day. But my shift got cut because there wasn't a lot of people there because it's summer and numbers definitely drop. And so I felt really lost on what to do with myself. But I knew when I got back to work, I would feel better. And I also want to share on my way to work this morning, I was sitting on the subway. Something my boyfriend and I both have decided to do is spend a lot less time on our phones. And I will share more about that in the future, about how we're doing that. But I was on the subway. I wasn't vibing with my book. So I put it back in my bag and I was just kind of observing what's going on around me. And this guy sitting right in front of me was texting the entire subway ride. And I couldn't help but peek with my 20/20 vision because I had laser eye surgery a couple months ago and oh my gosh, I can see everything. And I could literally read parts of his message. And he sent a couple texts that said stop calling me, please don't call me ever again. And then he was writing out a huge paragraph and part of it said I'm done with this chaotic energy or something like that. And then I didn't read the rest. First of all, yes, this is me fully invading someone's privacy. And second of all, he could fully see me if he looked over. He could see me reading it, which he didn't. He was listening to music. He was deep into clearly some type of relationship ending text message. And it brought me some peace, not because I actually before I got off the subway, I wanted to. I didn't. But I wanted to look at him and be like, good for you, dude. Set your boundaries. Everything's going to be okay. I didn't say that though, because that would be odd. But it was a really big reminder for me that we are all going through something at different times in our life. And this random stranger on a subway sitting right next to me reminded me of that because he was going through it. He was setting a boundary. He was potentially removing someone from his life forever. And it's a really hard thing to do. And so I'm saying this to normalize just even for myself that being in a low, lonely mood after having a wonderful vacation and spending so much time with my boyfriend is a normal thing because I came back to my life here and there is a bit of oh, okay, back to my day to day where everything's predictable, but nothing is actually that predictable. I say every time I go to Othership, the moment I think I know what to expect during a shift, some crazy curveball is thrown. And I'm so grateful because it keeps things fun and interesting and exciting and I feel safe and it's a very positive thing. And so, yeah, I was on a bit of a trip come down, but I got to work and instantly saw the people at the front desk. that I love so much, vibed, talked about life, heard from my coworker that like universally the energy is really shifting right now and there's some sort of like time leap that's happening. I don't fully understand the whole aspect woo-woo-ness of this, but I was like very much vibing with how he was describing it. And then the class that I was a support guide for was very, very powerful, and the shares there were great. And he shared again about just how he's in a transition from the person he was to this insane, wonderful, expansive version of who he's becoming, and this transition is uncomfortable. And I was like, I resonate with all of this so much. And can we acknowledge that if I continued to work from home on my computer, I would not have that experience. I would not have this energy shift from my job. And it's just such a wonderful thing to have that. And I think during COVID, we got used to this new normal where we didn't experience human connection with so many different people in one day. We would interact with like 3 people in a day, maybe, or maybe you were someone who lived alone during part of the pandemic and you interacted with no one. And that experience is wild. And I truly feel so passionate about human to human connection. That's why the podcast is called that. And so I want to give some practical tools and tips on how to find that connection in your life. Because if you work from home and that works for you and you love it and you thrive off of that, don't change your job. You don't need to change your job to find community. And I was thinking back to a time when I lived in Vancouver where I knew 3 people and I was so sad and I missed my family and I moved home after 3 months. And no shit. I didn't know how to find community. I didn't know how to build community. And so I was lonely and sad. And I've experienced that in so many different forms in the past 5 years, basically ever since, you get out of high school and then university. If you go, for me, it became online. And I also just didn't really have a community in university as well because I went to a commuter school. So we get it. We get it. Life can be sad without community. So number 1 for me is obviously work. I say that every single time I walk into my job. If I'm in a bad mood, it instantly gets turned around. And I'm realizing not only because of the people there, but I'm also very grateful that I have tools of a sauna and cold plunge to shift my actual physical state. And that is something that is an incredible way to change how you're feeling, to change just where your body's at physically. And not only do I get the social fill from working at other shit, but I see journeyers who come sometimes every single day. I met someone today who comes every single day and he's getting a community fill and he doesn't need to work there to get that. He just comes and attends. And we have regulars who we get to know so well. We chat with, we shoot the shit with them like every time they're there. And I guarantee that that is a boost for their day because not only are they taking care of their body, but they're seeing familiar faces. And it reminds us that other people know who we are. They're seeing us, they're witnessing us, they're holding space for us, and that they care about us. There's a certain element of, you know, we need to know that other people see us. And when I first moved to Toronto, this past year, where I left in March, I really, really struggled my first couple months because I felt like people didn't understand me, or I felt like people weren't holding space, or I just really was like, I just remember feeling really misunderstood, or that no one was listening. It was this crazy feeling I'd never felt before where I was like, I feel like no one's listening to me. I feel like no one's hearing me. And I remember saying that to my boyfriend and he was like, what the fuck? That is a crazy feeling. And I don't really know how to fully explain that still to this day, but when you go somewhere and people go, "Oh my God, Jess, how's it going? Like, how's your day been?" Like, "Oh my gosh, the weather's so nice out today." Something as small as that gives us a lift in our mood. And that happened to me. I'm going to stray away from the work conversation and talk about the library. So obviously, like if you were to go to Othership every day or go to yoga every day or a gym, you pay money for that. And we're going to get back into that kind of conversation. But I also want to share ways that you can find community without spending any money. And one of the things for me is I always rent books from my local library. And it's great because I love reading, but I literally don't have to spend money on books because I will put them on hold at the library. It'll let me know when they're ready to pick up. And a new thing I've done since moving back in with my parents, I always used to drive to the library, but now I walk. And it's not the most luscious walk. I have to walk over a highway on a bridge, so it's loud and there's a bunch of construction happening, but it gets some movement in, it gets some walking into my life, especially now that I'm in the suburbs. And then I go to the library, I take out my book. And what I've done recently is I've either sat and read a little bit of my book, or yesterday I brought my laptop, pulled open my laptop, did some writing for my book that I'm writing. Also, quick side note, I am writing a book. It's like so fulfilling and hard and challenging, and I'm really looking for a community of writers. And I've looked on Toronto Public Library and there's some writing groups, but they're quite far from my house or they don't work with my schedule. So if you or someone you know is into writing, especially memoir style, I really, really want to join some type of community because I'm literally feeling very alone in my writing process, and I really, really want to connect with other humans because I know it'll help me on this really transformative, difficult, fun, challenging journey. So please let me know in the comments or message me on Instagram at with Jessica Jane or email me humantohumanpod@gmail.com. So perfect for this episode theme. And if you're enjoying it, please share it with a friend. Podcasts do not go viral like social media posts. And so it would mean so much if you shared this with someone. And hopefully it could uplift someone else's day and remind someone that they need community too. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your cousin. We all need this. So I appreciate it and I love you. And it felt really good to go to the library and to work on my laptop, and someone sat at my table and we just had a quick smile to each other. And that might seem so small, but even that is so transformative because it just like eye contact, facial expressions, like you are witnessing another person while they're witnessing you, and everything's going to be okay. And this reminds me of my friendship social class that I guide at Othership, where there's eye gazing in the cold plunges. And to me, I didn't really understand eye gazing. I was like, this is so intimate, this is so scary. And that's the point. We have 30 seconds of cold plunges with 3 rounds of that, and every time each person rotates, so they eye gaze with someone new. And when we have an uneven number, I got to eye gaze with a couple people at a couple and during a couple different times. I didn't eye gaze with multiple people at once, obviously, because that's not possible. But when I did it, I was like, whoa, this is like so intimate and so intense and so vulnerable. And yet, while I was doing it, I was also speaking and guiding. And so I was like, let yourself be seen, allow yourself to be witnessed by this person. And like, when do we do that? Like, when do we? My boyfriend and I joke that, like, when we go for dinner, like, we would prefer to sit next to each other. And I hate those kind of couples. But because, like, I don't know. He said that whenever his family eats together, they like sit around TVs and like don't stare at each other's eyes. And so, like, I don't know. I don't think we have a lot of that literal eye contact, human to human connection enough. So, going back to the library, I haven't really got to chat with any of the employees there yet, but I'm starting to see familiar faces. But when I started walking to the library, around the corner from my house is a pharmacy that I worked at for 5 years when I was in high school. And I never go in because I always feel like so awkward about it. But I ran into a regular named Bruce. He's the best. I'm like, Bruce, how's it going? He's like, life is so good when you're retired. And he's like, come on in. Like, I'm going to say hi to Maggie. Like, let's get into the pharmacy. And I was like, I haven't been in there forever. And my face literally turned red. I felt like so embarrassed. But like that small interaction with Bruce made my day. He was like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm walking to the library. And even though it felt uncomfortable, I still got such a mood boost from it. And yesterday I'd spent all day just feeling weird in my house all alone after spending 5 days straight with my boyfriend. And so that interaction brought me so much joy and just made me so happy and reminded me like, holy shit, like you never know what's going to happen when you leave your house. So we need to leave our homes because we want to stay in these safe little cocoons sometimes. But like, that's not where we feel fulfillment. That's not where we grow. That's not where we thrive. And I'm really working. I want to do an episode about scarcity mindset, but I'm still really working through mine. I'm noticing so much how much Oh, fuck, Joss is here. Hello. I was recording a quick podcast episode. You made it here in exactly 15 minutes. That's crazy.
I was whipping it, bro.
Yeah. Can I
still recording?
Can I quickly finish?
Yeah. Excuse me.
I missed you.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You saw me like 2 days ago.
No, I actually missed you. I had a really sad day yesterday. Don't tickle me.
What do you mean you're
Don't tickle me.
Okay. She just want to go down to the
Do you want to shower?
Nah, bro. What about the garden?
Okay.
I came to garden.
Can you give me 5 minutes? Okay, we're gonna we're gonna speed this up. I have so much to say about this, but this is kind of like the through line theme of all of Human to Human podcast, obviously. So the other thing I wanted to mention with community is I've started to find it at my gym. I was so hesitant to have a gym membership before. When I worked from home, I would like go to the gym and rush and then leave. And now I like take my time, I do my workouts, and when you go around the same time a couple days in a row on like a weekday, you start to see the same people. And then you start to like head nod them and you start to like say hey or like have a funny interaction with someone. Or I take a yoga class. I try to take the same yoga class every week. When I need to mix it up, I do because I sometimes get bored. But if you go to the same yoga class, then like you start to see the same people, and I knew who the newbie was the other day because like I'm pretty new, and so her and I started chatting, and we're like the youngest people there because all these women at Good Life are like retired women taking a 10:45 a.m. yoga class on a Tuesday. And so it just, those little moments make you be like, oh, that gave me a little boost of energy. Oh, that was so funny. We just had this interaction. And I took a yoga class or a workout class yesterday from the same instructor who does yoga. And I went to this studio or this, oh my gosh, words. I went to this gym years ago and remember this instructor. I took her class all the time, but her and I hadn't like connected since I started coming again. And so my name like wasn't on the sign up sheet because I signed up like last minute and they take like attendance. It's so funny. And so she like comes over to me and I was like, yeah, Jessica M. And she goes, I miss you in my Zumba classes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I need to come again. So like she remembers me in her Zumba classes from 4 years ago. And that is the power of community right there. When someone remembers you, when someone values you, when someone appreciates your energy in a room. And that is what we need. And yes, it's uncomfortable sometimes. It can make us feel like, oh, I don't know. It's scary to be seen. But we need it to literally survive. Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you cannot live in isolation. That you need to get that need met. And I am living proof that like that is something that can bring up your happiness and your just like levels of safety and your levels of just like fulfillment and contentment in your life so much. I'm someone who in high school sometimes I'd go hide at lunch because I was so tired of being social, but I also forgot that like I need it to thrive and to feel good. So I hope this inspired you. I feel like I had to cut it a little bit short, but if I didn't cut it short and I just didn't record, we wouldn't have an episode. And I'm trying to really show up on here because it brings me so much joy. So again, if you love it, please share it on your Instagram maybe or in a photo dump, on TikTok as your fave podcast. Comment on someone's post if you see someone, be like, what podcasts are underrated? I saw an Instagram thing like that the other day. It would mean the world. I have very big dreams that I'm working to achieve, and you play a big part in that. So thank you for being part of this human to human community. I hope to have some in-person joy and fun and silly chats with you, either at Othership or one day on a stage at an event. Who knows? But it won't happen unless you support me on that journey. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. Subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. I'm trying to do weekly, but we'll see. It's summer. Have some fun. Get out in the sun. Run around. Josh and I are going to go garden. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.